welcome back to Global Gaming Women's Fair Game Podcast. It is a beautiful day in the Light and Wonder podcast studio. I am joined today by Anika Howard and Bronwyn Gregg. How are you, ladies?
Wonderful. Now that I see you.
Yeah,
You wonderful ladies.
For another
Yes.
episode.
This is episode 6. It's been a really cool journey so far. I have learned so much. I've had so much fun. And I wanted to take a quick moment just to thank the people that are listening. Because there are a lot of them listening. How cool is that?
Yeah, we love it.
So just a quick call to action. Like, if you are listening, go on all those cool platforms and leave us a review. And not only a review, but talk to us a little bit about what you want to hear, because we are listening. And I think active listening is really important, especially in our roles. And tell us what you want to hear, because we could use it as topics.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Email us. It's fairgame@globalgamingwomen.org. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we have a really cool episode planned. I'm really pumped up because we have our first male ally on the episode today. He's just such a massive force in the gaming industry, and some of the things that he's doing at his company, really powerful. And not only that, but he is a big time husband and a big time girl dad. And I've seen him interact with his kids, and he's a great dad and he's a great husband. So I can't wait to share his story. And the reason we're doing this today is because yesterday it was Father's Day.
Yes, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to everyone out there, all the dads.
Yeah.
Did anyone do anything fun to celebrate the dads and the men in their lives?
Well, I mean, for me, I have 3 brothers that are all dads, and my father actually is a girl dad. He grew up with all boys. He had 2 brothers, and he ended up with 5 daughters. So I know that it's definitely been an education for him, and so just really getting everyone together and celebrating and having that time. And I love seeing my brothers too, because 2 of them are girl dads as well. And I mean, I have one brother, he's a police officer. And so it's great to see him like painting fingernails and dancing in tutus and all the great things that need to happen. And so it's really good. It's a great thing to, see your brothers grow up, but then kind of see them become men, but also see them become fathers, and then also see how they shift and their change and their energy changes when they have girls. It's a great thing.
I love that. That's such a fun journey. For me, it's really important to celebrate the men in my life. Not only just my dad, but my husband. He's a great dad to our daughter, and my brother-in-law, he's a great dad to my 2 lovely nieces. And so we typically do like the same thing every year. We cook for them their favorite meal, which is hilarious because they each choose something different. So it's like we probably have mac and cheese on one side and like a steak, and then like seafood on another. So it's the most random dinner you'll ever see.
Sounds delicious.
I know. It's good fun. And then we spend some time swimming. So we just hang out as a family, and we spend the entire day together, and it just means a lot to me.
No, but that's the best thing. I mean, time,
being
time with family, being together. I mean, I think we've learned over just everything that we've been through over the couple of years that, that time that you have together is priceless. So I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, how about your story?
Yes. Went back to Virginia to celebrate with my family that's still back on the East Coast, including my grandfather who raised me. I've got a little bit of a unique family dynamic that I know I've mentioned on a couple episodes. I'm totally an open book, always happy to chat with, whoever about literally any of it. And, everyone knows my whole tagline, stories or permission slips, but definitely just want to acknowledge, right, as much as, Father's Day is celebratory for these amazing, great men and father figures in our lives, right, that's not the same for everyone, right? There are a lot of unique situations, people who have strained relationships with their fathers, people who don't know their fathers, people who've lost their fathers, people who don't want to be fathers, right? The list goes on. So just want to acknowledge that. We see you, we hear you, and right.
We're here for you.
And
absolutely.
Yeah. And any story is powerful. For me personally, so I was teen pregnancy. I was raised by my grandparents. So the person who I consider my father is my grandfather. And I actually didn't even meet my biological father until I was 27, and didn't even know my full ethnicity until, meeting him. That's, I was raised in a very, my maternal side of the family, a very, very blonde, red-haired family, very Irish and German. And I'm actually half South Asian, didn't even find out until I was 27, part Indian and Pakistani. And right, there's just a lot, knowing where you come from is such a privilege, right?
Yep.
And unfortunately, not everybody has that, right? But just so special, right? The role that my grandfather played in my life. And, I would often call him, dad, granddad, lots of different names, but right, father figures can come in a lot of different forms. So just want to recognize that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And also too, I'll add, right, going to weddings, right, is still so difficult, right? I lose it every time. It's the, father of the bride speech and the dance and all that. I literally started to have to kind of like remove myself so I don't like become a crying mess. So I know I sound all like happy and bubbly saying that, but just want to acknowledge, right? It's it's like it is okay, right? If those things are hard, if
triggering,
hard, it's just you're not alone.
Yeah, definitely not alone, and we're here for you. I appreciate that very much. Okay, so I'm excited. We're gonna shift our focus a little bit today. We're gonna talk about allyship and fatherhood because obviously we're celebrating Father's Day. So our guest today is Andrew Burke. He's the CEO of the hip and up-and-coming gaming manufacturer company, Blueberry. He's a husband. He's a dad to two beautiful ladies. So let's bring him in. Let's welcome Andrew.
Yes. Can't wait.
Can't wait to hear him.
Andrew, thank you so much for joining us in the studio today. It is so fun to have an in-person guest and be able to have face-to-face conversations. They feel like they're just so genuine, and especially with a friendly face like yourself. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I think you have a really cool journey, but I before we dive in, I just want to talk about what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to go into allyship, obviously, the role that you play at your company and what you do to support women in the industry, but also you as a dad. We're going to celebrate you for Father's Day. So let's dive right in. Tell me about yourself. Go into your journey a little bit.
Sure. I mean, I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, which I personally think is the greatest city in the States. But it was a really fun place to grow up in terms of growing up like it's kind of a small town feel. And, I knew my neighbors. I knew all the kids I went to first grade with through, sort of high school. And then after college, I went to the University of Cincinnati in Ohio. And then I moved to San Francisco out of college, where I worked at a private equity firm, which was moving from Ohio to San Francisco is a little bit like moving to Mars. I mean, it was just a very different place, right? I mean, it's like you're in, small town, middle America, and then you're in, a major city and all the hustle and bustle of that. And that private equity firm owned AGS actually when I joined there. And so I started kind of right away working on AGS, as an investor and an operator at the private equity firm. And in 2008, when the whole world sort of, stopped, we weren't really making a lot of new investments. And I kind of worked full time on AGS at that point. And a few years later, the CEO at the time, which was a guy named Bob Mayadunsky, asked me to move to Vegas and was like, you either want to be a private equity guy or you want to be a gaming guy. What do you want to do? And I was like, well, I want to be a gaming guy. I really enjoy this. And so I moved to Las Vegas in January of 2011. Worked at AGS for a long time through the growth and sort of, a lot of the things that went on there. And then started at Blueberry in January 2020, which, is like...
What a wild time to start.
Yeah, perfect time of that. And, we've been on a journey at Blueberry since I've been there, and it's been a pretty amazing one, a pretty rewarding one. And then at home, I'm married to my high school sweetheart. So I don't know, we've talked about that, I'm sure, before, but Adrian and I went to high school together. We've been together for over 20 plus years. We moved to San Francisco together. She worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, which was a super demanding, high-paced job. She worked at Caesars Entertainment here for 10 years in their tax department. And now we have two little girls who are, just finishing first grade and third grade. So, and life is good,
They're adorable too.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to talk a little bit about that. And thank you for wearing your girl dad hat.
Absolutely.
Though, by the way.
Proudly. Yeah.
So what was it that made you choose gaming? When you were faced with that choice, you're either private equity guy or a gaming guy, what was it about the gaming industry that made you jump in?
It was so fascinating to me. I mean, we, at the private equity firm, we owned a bunch of different businesses. We owned a business that was like online education. We owned a business that sold cars and like financed the purchases. We had online marketing companies. then we had this gaming company, and I was like, this is interesting. I'd never even been to Las Vegas before, growing up in Ohio. And I just really fell in love with it because I learned the business too on the sort of tribal side of the business. AGS's business was primarily in Oklahoma. And so working in that environment, kind of learning about what makes a good game, what makes a great game, that whole process. But then you also have to manufacture it, you have to sell it, you have to service it. It's like a very vertically integrated business.
Yeah, it's very complex
Yeah.
once you dig in a little bit, right?
Extremely complex comparatively to other, sort of traditional businesses that just maybe, hey, you sell software online. Okay, like that's one dimension, right? And so it really just lights up my brain and has kept me coming back. So it's something I was really passionate about really early on. And I think, also growing up in the 80s, you grew up playing video games, and that's fun and cool. And so the idea that you have to build games and work on games is pretty fun.
Yeah, we play with games for a living. It's pretty cool to be able to say something like that. And like you said, yeah. I grew up in the 80s too. And I think having the Sega Genesis says, that was like the coolest thing in the world. And now I still play with games. Yeah. So it's a pretty cool journey.
Absolutely.
So tell our listeners a little bit about your time at Blueberry and what that's meant to you so far.
Yeah, it's definitely been an amazing journey. The company's been around for 30 plus years. It was founded and started in Quebec, in a little small town there called Drummondville, which is like an hour and a half outside of Montreal. And their history was they had some really great talent around technology and art and animation. And, their games have always been very, very high quality. And they sort of lost their ways for a few years, and kind of like, starting in 2017, the business was bankrupt, and sort of out of bankruptcy, they ended up being owned by an investment firm who wanted to reposition the company and give it a new beginning. And eventually they recruited me in sort of late 2019. And that's when I started in January 2020. And what I realized was there's a super talented, committed team there that knew how to build games, but maybe not which games we should be building. And so I felt like we could bring kind of the market to them and say, hey, look, you know,
have a little direction.
Right? Yeah, you know how to build great games, right? That's not what this is about. It's about what games should we be building and what are all the features that should be in those games that are sort of relevant and up to kind of standards of the industry today. And so I quickly tried to recruit a team that could kind of bring that market perspective to the business. So whether that was, Casey Whalen joining in sales, Mike Brennan joining in product management, and really, now our chief product officer to help do that. And, our strategy wasn't to go build, a game that was going to be the number one game in the business, which it was for a while. We're happy that it was, but our strategy was to focus on building consistent quality in our products. And that's really, sort of been a hallmark of our business, is just being focused on quality and sort of all the things that we do. And that, I think, has propelled the company. And we've had a great few years, but, we're not done. We're not satisfied with, sort of where we're at. And we're excited about what the next sort of phases of the business are.
No, it's really cool. I love watching your journey. And I think every time you and I pass at a trade show or something, I tell you about the latest game I just played of yours, and I won. So, keep going, please, for my wallet.
Absolutely,
I'm having a great time with it. Yeah. You've created some cool products, so thank you for that. Let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about allyship.
Absolutely.
We've known each other a while, and I've always viewed you as an ally to women in the industry. I think it's important to talk a little bit about like some of the ways that you believe men can be better allies to women in this industry.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of ways. I think our industry has fallen short in a number of ways on how we've helped women in their careers, or how we've, created an environment that is sort of acceptable for women to work in. And I would say for me, it's been a journey too. I think my wife has worked, since we were, first together, and watching her journey and seeing how she was treated at times too opened my eyes to things, where I would see like, oh, like that's not acceptable, this sort of behavior or whatever that behavior was. And that's made me more thoughtful about it as we've gone. I don't feel like that I'm satisfied with our progress and the progress that we've made, even at Blueberry, on how we're doing that. But it's an important thing. And I have like a core belief in my life that things that you focus on get better. Things that you don't focus on get worse. They don't stay the same. Like if you're not looking at it, you're not thinking about it, it just goes down.
Absolutely.
And so I think even, you guys reaching out to say, hey, want to come on this podcast was a great sort of prod to me to go, hey, what are we doing, to make sure that we're doing a better job here. And so, I think again, the industry can do a lot better. I think we can do a lot better. And, I'm sort of, want to make sure that we're focused on that and thinking about it. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. The more you talk about it, obviously, the more important it is. And I think the more we bring it to the forefront of our conversations, just like this, like you said, like having you come on this podcast today is an important step in that direction.
Yeah.
So why do you think it's so important in places like Blueberry or even just in the workplace in general?
Yeah, I think a diverse perspective, no matter what it is a great thing. If you get people all from the same place, even if you grew up in the same town and everybody grew up in the same town, you all have sort of the same view. Like maybe the view has a 5% difference with this person and a 5% difference with that person, but it's all sort of in the same little circle, right? But like you get this wider perspective. And for me, that was moving to San Francisco from Ohio, like grew up in this really small town, knew everybody. And then I moved to this big city where I didn't know anybody and met people from all kinds of walks of life. And like that's only made my life better, and it's enriched my experience. And so, making sure that I think you have a diverse set at your business will enrich everybody's experience. And I think it avoids sort of groupthink, and it avoids just everybody kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think Bronwyn, one of our co-hosts, she says stories are permission slips. So the more you share the stories, right, the more you give people permission to be authentic and share their experiences. And I think that's where the real learning is in the workplace is once we start sharing our experiences and we keep talking about it, I think that the growth is really, that's where it's found.
I definitely think like if everybody was allowed to be themselves at work, you would get the best version of them to show up every day, and not every company allows everyone to be themselves, whatever themselves is. And that's one of the things I've been really focused on and working really hard at Blueberry is that this is a place where you can come and be yourself. The work will be hard. It will be challenging. That doesn't mean it's rainbows and sunshines.
Right.
And, everybody's just hugging in the hallway all the time. But like the things that matter are the work, not like, who you are or what, sort of thing is important to you, right? It's like the work is the thing that is the hard thing, not like, hey, I had to dress a certain way to make somebody, happy or whatever the thing is. Right?
Yeah, it's like if you can let go of worrying about being a certain image or a certain way, you can focus more on the work and it actually is more impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely.
Love that. So talk to me a little bit about some of the ways that you educate your employees on allyship and why those things are important.
For sure. Yeah. I think we're at the beginning of our journey there. Like, and again, this podcast was a great reminder for me to call my HR partner, Jen Bauer, who works with us. And I was like, Jen, going on this podcast, like, we got to talk more about this.
Help me.
Yeah. Help. And, we had a great conversation. She's like, I've been waiting for this conversation in some ways. So, I feel a little embarrassed that it took this podcast for me to have that conversation with her. But, we are going to do definitely a lot more. And I'll tell you another thing that sparked this for me recently was that I was talking to a woman who, I'm always out there trying to recruit people, right? And talk to them. And she said, what's your maternity policy? And I had no idea. And I was really embarrassed by that. And I was like, I'm really embarrassed that I don't know the answer to that. And, we started a conversation and I was like, well, what do you think it should be? And she's like, I think it should be 12 weeks. And I was like, okay. So we went back and I was like, hey, let's make our policy 12 weeks. And we've started to make some of the changes. So I think, again, it's like we live in this world where, and particularly men and, I'll say myself, like you live in this bubble of how you think about things. You don't perceive things from other people's perspective. And so I think the first step for all of our employees and for myself is to be able to see things from sort of other people's perspectives and understand what's important and why it's important.
Andrew, that was like, you gave me chills. That was such an incredibly powerful story. I feel like honored to be at the table with you, that you were that vulnerable with us and able to tell us that you yourself didn't understand or even know something. And you took the time to go out and figure that out for your employees. And that's what sets you apart from a lot of the people that are out there doing this. And so first, thank you for that. That was an incredible job.
Well, I feel like I can do better, and that's like the point. And I think, my wife, talking to her too, I remember being furious when she had her, when we had our baby and it was like, oh, they're only going to give you 3 weeks or whatever. And I was like, 3 weeks? Like, what are you talking about? And so we took 12 weeks off, but we were in a position to be able to do that. Not everybody is in a position to do that. And so I think it's important that, we continue to have those discussions and think about it as a business to say, hey, we want everybody to come to the table and contribute. Like, let's make it even playing field and let's make it easy for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
wow, that was incredibly powerful. So talk to me a little bit about like a personal experience or just like a reason that has motivated you to think about this care and a little bit more about the gender gap and inequality.
Yeah, I mean, watching my daughters grow up is I think to me like a fascinating way to understand the world. And my children play on co-ed teams, and sometimes you see things like, wow, like why are our daughters the ones on the bench and there's no boys on the bench? And then they want to substitute girl for boy, and so it's just like I think I've become a lot more aware to that, and in a great way, right? Like my eyes are a lot more open to things, and so I try to think about that and think about it. How can we do a better job, at Blueberry to make sure that we're thinking about everybody, not just one subset. And again, I don't think we're perfect. I don't think I'm perfect, on that, and I think we can do a lot better. But I'm committed to trying.
Well, I mean, that's when the growth happens the most, right? Is when you are willing to sit at the table and say that we're not perfect and we have a lot of room to grow. We're doing this X, Y, and Z, but there's so much more that we could do to make this better.
For sure.
That's definitely where the growth is.
Yeah.
So you touched on it a little bit. So you said you're definitely a girl dad.
For sure.
You have 2 beautiful daughters. I've seen them a couple of times and they're lovely. Talk to me about what it's like to be a dad.
It's the best job, and I mean, it's the most important job, I think, for me. My girls need me to be their advocate, to be, sort of their executive functioning parent, my wife and I too, and collectively. And so like, I think a lot about trying to model behavior too, and think about how do I show up with them? Am I present at the things they need me to be present at? Am I present even just when I'm at the house, with them? But they're really everything to me. I mean, I love those 2 girls, and they make my life a more richer experience. And my goal is to like continue to invest in them. And I don't know what it's like to be the parent of a boy. I mean, I only have girls, but for me, like of any kid, and I think about my daughters a lot. My wife and I were talking about this on the walk. Like, if I could just instill in them to like have self-confidence and self-reliance, and be kind, like I'll do my job, and I don't know how to do that, every day, but I try.
Figure
like,
it out as you go,
I'm trying to figure that out every day. And so, but it's fun to like, to watch them develop and to be a part of that and say, hey, we can shape things. And there's a lot of stuff you can't control, but you just kind of do your best to try to do it. But I feel like it makes me a better person at work, and it makes me, sort of a better person, in general, to focus on, helping them through their journey.
Do you think being a dad and a CEO at the same time, I mean, having that experience as a father, do you think that helps you lead with empathy?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think the hardest, not the hardest thing, but I think one of the most important things about being a CEO is being direct and honest at times. Like I really try to listen to employees as much as I can. I try to get feedback, but sometimes employees are going to give you feedback that you can't give them the thing they want. And you have to be honest about why you can't give them the thing they want, and why it's different. And raising kids is a lot like that too, right? Hey, Dad, I want to go do X, Y thing. We can't go do X, Y thing, because of these reasons, right? And you really have to explain yourself, especially to kids who won't back down on,
right,
what the reason is. And so I do feel like, sort of being a parent helps me in my job, and my job helps me, sort of be a better parent in a lot of ways too.
Yeah. So I didn't prep this question. I just thought of this. So I'm sorry to throw you a curveball, but if your daughters were sitting next to you right now, what would they say your superpower is as a dad?
Probably just like optimism. Like I'm generally always excited and happy for them and trying to help them on their journey. So I hope that it would be that, things are always good. If my one daughter, Dagny, was here, she would be gushing to you about Blueberry, because she's obsessed with our company and loves it. She takes like the Blueberry water bottle to school and has stickers all over stuff.
Oh, I love that. She's a walking ad.
She thinks it's like the greatest thing in the world. She's like, I want to work there one day. I was like, I hope you do, And so, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Well, you've created such a cool culture at Blueberry, and watching your journey and your story has been such a cool thing. And congratulations on everything that you've done so far. And I can't wait to watch your journey going forward. And thank you for being such a big supporter to women. I think it's really important that we continue to have these conversations. And thank you for being the first male to step foot into the studio and have this conversation with us.
Yeah. I'm very, very honored.
All right, Andrew. So before we go, we here at Fair Game Podcast, we play rapid fire questions with our guests, and we try to wrap up just a little bit of fun, a little cool way to get to know each other. So I'm going to play with you just to make you a little more comfortable. So
excellent.
I've got a couple of things that are like childhood based, right? So we're going to work so we're celebrating Father's Day. All right, first one. Your favorite toy from your childhood?
GI Joes, all of them. Yeah, 1,000 of them. Right. The 80s. I mean, all of the GI Joes. Like I thought they were the coolest thing in the world. Yeah.
So mine was the Sega. So I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Like my dad, like now, I know the story behind it, but he worked extra hard to get me that thing. And I walked up to the Christmas tree and I picked it up and I knew exactly what it was. And like I shook it and I was like, this is the Sega, I'm in. And that was like my favorite thing for the rest of time.
Do you remember the ads that were like, we do what Nintendo don't? That was the Sega. That was the Sega tagline in North America, was like, we do what Nintendo don't.
Okay,
and it was like a massive hit. Yeah,
okay, well, I love it. Yeah. I can see why it's a massive hit, but I also loved Sonic the Hedgehog so much. So, okay, chicken nuggets or mac and cheese?
Chicken nuggets, for sure.
Okay, I'm the same.
Yeah.
I look forward to the night where I make Brooklyn chicken nuggets because she doesn't eat them all, and I'm like, okay, well,
yeah, exactly. Here we go. Right? Yeah.
Okay. Favorite Bluey episode?
Oh, the bedroom. When they like go to like kind of swap bedrooms is probably my favorite, and it's like the girls. I have 2 little girls, so they have like a room that kind of adjoins them, so they will watch that and then pass notes back and forth, and so it's like
that's adorable.
Yeah, it's a pretty adorable thing to watch.
I can't believe I can actually say that I know what episode you're talking about. Yeah. I don't know if I should be like ashamed or super proud of that, but
I think it's the first episode of season 3.
Oh yeah, that you know what episode it was.
Yeah.
I think the one where they made the giant tent. Have you seen that one? Like
I don't know if I have. I'm like hit or miss. I've seen
the most complex tent I think I've ever seen in my life. And my nieces came over one night and they were like, "Can we make the tent from Bluey?" And I was like, "I don't think I can do that. Like that was intense." So try the 10 episode.
Okay, it's on the list.
Okay, if you could hang out with any cartoon character, who would it be?
Oh wow. I don't know. It's such like a hard. Like Optimus Prime. I know that's like really dorky.
Okay, that's fine. I like well, that's fine.
He's like the leader of this like unique, species, and he came from outer space. Like, I think it would be a pretty cool hang.
Okay,
for sure. He's got a lot of leadership qualities that I'd like to soak in.
I think I'm gonna have to look that up later.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna stay on. I'm gonna stay on brand with mine. I'm gonna go with Sonic because like the dude was super fast and he was cool. So I'm gonna go with that one for sure.
Some more Sega trivia. They did player focus groups to see if kids liked Mario or Sonic better, and Sonic crushed them because it's so fast paced comparatively to Mario. Mario like jumps like this.
Look, Mario's cool, but Sonic being fast was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, biggest dad fail.
How long do we have?
I mean, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I hope it hasn't. I hope it has happened already. But I'm sure there's plenty of them. But I don't know one that comes to mind that would stick out more than others.
Okay, fair. I'll let you have a pass on that one. I can't answer that one, but the next one I can't answer either. How about your biggest dad win?
Oh, yeah, easy. Not easy, but I try to take the girls on these little dates. Just me and them, and we kind of go around. And I took Dagny. My little one to Gabby Coffee House in Chinatown on Spring Mountain Road, and we were sitting on this like little bookcase in the back, and there were some teenage girls there studying, and she said, when I am in college, I'm gonna study here, and when I do, I'm gonna think of you. And I was like, take everything, you can have it. Like I just
whatever you want.
Whatever. But she's like just super self-aware little kid. And it was a really great little thing that I'll, remember the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah, that's adorable. Okay, so have you ever done anything to embarrass your child?
I feel like everything I do now is starting to embarrass them. So we're definitely getting to that phase where like, I was wearing like a tank top around the house the other day, and my daughter's like, go change that immediately. I was like, what? I'm walking around my own house. Like, she was just like mortified that I was, showing off any skin. So.
Okay, so mine's gonna make you giggle because like it makes me seem super cool. So we're in her little 5th grade graduation party, and she's got a couple of friends around her, and I subtly dropped the word sus.
Ooh,
and like I was like, oh, that looks so sus, and she was mortified. Her face was so red. She was like, I cannot believe you're my mother. I cannot believe you just did that to me. So anytime you can drop the word sus, for some reason, it just really gets them.
They were using the word slay the other day. Slay, something. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds cool.
Okay, so use that too. Anytime you use their language, oh man, you get them. Yeah. It's hilarious. Okay, so last one, because this is just what I think of when I'm as a parent. Chocolate milk or apple juice?
Chocolate milk in our house. Yeah, all day long. Yeah.
So my daughter would be mad that I would choose chocolate milk because she's an apple juice fan and through and through. But I'm choosing chocolate milk.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for playing. That was so much fun. I love that. I love that game. I think it just gives a little bit more of a shine to your personality.
No, I appreciate it. It's great. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. Your wife is lovely. Your daughter is lovely. Everything you're doing is incredible. Keep it up. And thanks you for being here.
Thanks. It was an honor.